Hello, everyone. Today I'm joined by Mr. Tommy Birch, the 2020 Iowa Sportswriter of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. So I have just a few questions I want to ask you. First one is, what made you want to get into sports writing?
Yeah, I kind of just fell into it actually. I wrote for my high school paper at Dowling Catholic in West Des Moines. So it was something that was kind of on my radar. And I actually went to a local community college. I was going to play baseball there. But on the first day of school, I was like, this isn't the right fit. This isn't where I want to be. So I ended up transferring to another junior college closer to home. Like one of the few classes that was available was a journalism class. So I was like, wow, well, no, it's kind of something I was thinking about getting into. Um, maybe I should scope that out. Maybe that's something that could work out for me. So I took the class, ended up liking it, ended up writing for the school paper there, and then went to a 4 year school and wrote for the paper there. And I'd always kind of told myself like, okay, I'm enjoying this. I don't know if this is my calling. Maybe I'll get into something else. And I've kind of told myself for a while that, and now I've been at the Des Moines Register, the paper I'm working at, I think since 2008 is when I first started there. So at this point, I think it's kind of a life calling.
Incredible. You've been there for about 13 years.
Yeah, so I actually started off as a news assistant there, just kind of answering phones, taking scores, writing short recaps, stuff like that. And then I eventually started covering some prep stuff, moved into a full time role, working in sports and working in community pubs where I was like taking pictures at local events like water balloon fights at the library and stuff like that. And I did that for a little while, and it was pretty rewarding. It was pretty fun to get out and tell some different stories that somebody that had spent their entire life building up being a sports reporter started doing. But then I ended up getting pulled on to sports full time, which where I've been ever since. So it's definitely been a very unique ride looking back on it.
That's awesome. That sounds awesome. Just seeing, how everyone's path is so different. And, you might not be able to start right where you want to go, but you build your way up. And it sounds like you were on a good path to where you got to be. Now, next question I want to ask is, what's been an event that's been so memorable to you throughout your career?
Wow, I was kind of thinking, I've gotten to cover a lot of really cool things. And, I think one thing that the easy answer for me is kind of probably what really got me into this was the junior college I ended up transferring to. It's called Des Moines Area Community College, DMAC, and for one of my school projects, we had to do a kind of a big feature, kind of a giant takeout on something or something. Basically, it was pretty open ended, and I'm a huge baseball fan, and I knew that DMAC, the school had a baseball team at another campus up in Boone, and one of their biggest alumni was Corey Koski, who at the time was the third baseman for the Minnesota Twins. And I was like, I want to do a story on Corey Koski and looking back at his time at DMAC. And I ended up getting a press pass going to the Metrodome. I think Corey Koski was on the disabled list at the time. So long ago, I remember he was not playing that night, but I got to talk to him before batting practice and hung out on press row, watched the game. I think Johan Santana pitched like a one hit shutout. Torrey Hunter had a diving catch. It's amazing all those little things that you remember. But I remember sitting on press row and thinking like, wow, this is really cool. This is something I think I could get used to. Like maybe I should see this through and try to do this whole journalism thing if I somehow end up graduating from college. So for me, I've gotten to cover a lot of cool things since then. But to me, that's probably just something that's uber special to me. Just knowing that, I don't know if I wouldn't have gone up to the Metrodome that day and done that story and gotten that access and had that experience, I don't know if I would be doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, like I was mentioning before, everyone's path is different. You never know what could happen tomorrow. Some could lead you to something incredible, and you just never know it. And that's amazing that that opportunity got you really connected with sports journalism. You found your calling. Truly remarkable. Um, so right now at the Des Moines Register, how are you? Like, what's your current role right now within the newspaper?
So I spent, I think, 5 or 6 years kind of around that time covering Iowa State sports. I was covering Iowa State football, men's and women's basketball. And about a year ago, I transitioned into a sports enterprise and features role where basically I get to kind of tell whatever stories I want to. And it's really ranged from some high school stuff to professional baseball, professional football, just some really good human interest feature stories to some enterprise projects. Like, I spent a great deal of time, Iowa is kind of known as the minor league sports capital of the world, where, we've got minor league baseball teams, we've got indoor football league teams, we've even got, minor league basketball and minor league hockey too. But over the past year, I've spent a great deal of time kind of looking at the future of minor league baseball in Iowa, with two towns in Iowa losing their minor league affiliations after the new baseball agreement between Major League Baseball and minor league baseball. So enterprise stories kind of like that, and then feature stories kind of like I mentioned. They range from a high school softball team in Des Moines whose coach is battling cancer and hasn't been able to coach the team this season. So the high school wrestling coach and a buddy of his has essentially taken over the team and is filling in for him this summer. And then all the way up to a Green Bay Packers football player who about 5 or 6 months before making his NFL debut was working as a doorman as a pretty much a bouncer at a local bar in Des Moines. So it's been a lot of fun being able to get out to different parts of Iowa and to get out and meet all kinds of different people and tell different stories, because to me that's the best part of the job, is meeting people and sharing unique and special stories.
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, I'm actually a Packers fan, so that story was that's really amazing. How you start out somewhere, next thing you know, it's the big stage. That's I can't imagine how crazy that must have been. Like you said, you get to write your own stories, and it's not like it's what you want, and that just sounds like the ultimate goal. That you get to choose what you want to write. You're not told by someone, "Hey, go cover such and such." So that's pretty cool.
For the most part, I've got some really good editors that tend to maybe push me in a little direction, sometimes to provide some good inspiration and guidance as well. But to me, it's incredibly rewarding to get out and tell some of those untold stories and find those people that are maybe overlooked. We spend so much time focusing on, like I had said, when it comes to minor league sports, we spend so much time thinking about the big prospect. When it comes to high school sports, we spend so much time thinking about the 5-star recruit. When it comes to college, we spend so much time thinking about the guys on this watch list and that watch list. Kind of the best thing about my job is kind of getting out there and kind of telling stories of people who are overlooked and aren't prospects or aren't on watch lists as well.
I see what you're saying. So one of my last questions I want to ask is, if you had any advice you want to give to someone trying to get into the field, say a college graduate, what advice would you give them?
It's funny. Like I remember my first day at the Register, we had a longtime columnist there named Sean Keeler, and Sean's out in Colorado right now. And I remember my first day there, I was super excited, and I was like, any advice? And he goes to me, get out while you still can. And he was joking, and it's kind of funny to look back on that advice, but that wouldn't be my advice to people. Don't get out. It's a great industry to be a part of if you can find a way in. And the key to finding a way in is just working your butt off and being willing to do a lot of that work that um, is probably something you don't want to do. I look back on it. I spent so much time covering like high school swimming, high school bowling, stuff that wasn't, by any means stuff that I was looking forward to covering when I got out of college. When I got out of college, I was thinking like, damn, I'm gonna be in the role I'm in right now, or what I was doing a couple years ago, covering college football. That was kind of the ultimate goal. Covering high school bowling was not what I was signing up for when I got out of college. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, man, that was some of the most rewarding times in my life where I learned so much. I got so much access. And I've often joked with my fiance Allison about this. I joke with her that I'm probably in so many family scrapbooks of people taking pictures of their kids getting interviewed by a reporter, because sometimes, especially when it comes to those sports, it's the only time they get interviewed. And it's really cool to know that you're having a lasting impact on somebody's life. So I would say be willing to work hard, be willing to do things that maybe you don't want to do, and really try to enjoy it, because, at some point you're going to look back and say like, wow, that was a cool experience.
Outstanding advice. Well, Mr. Birch, I really appreciate you taking time to allow me to interview you. I had such a blast the past couple of minutes just learning your story and learning your path. I really appreciate you allowing me this opportunity.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast.
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for listening and watching.